Luqas, Luke chapter 23. And the entire assembly of them, having risen up, led him to Pilate, and began to accuse him, saying, We found this one perverting the nation, and forbidding to pay taxes to Caesar, saying that he himself is Messiah, as sovereign. And Pilate asked him, saying, Are you the sovereign of the Yehudim? And answering him, he said, You say it. And Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowd, I find no guilt in this man. But they were insisting, saying, He stirs up the people, teaching through all Yehudah, beginning from Galilee unto this place. And when Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked if the man were a Galilean. And when he learned that he was under the authority of Herodes, he sent him to Herodes, who was also in Jerusalem in those days. And seeing Yeshua, Herodes rejoiced greatly. For a long time he had wished to see him, because he had heard much about him, and was anticipating to see some miracle done by him. And was questioning him with many words, but he gave him no answer. And the chief priests and the scribes stood, accusing him intensely. And Herodes with his soldiers made light of him and mocked him, dressing him in a splendid robe, and sent him back to Pilate. And on that day Pilate and Herodes became friends with each other, for before that they had been at enmity with each other. And Pilate, having called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, said to them, You brought this man to me, as one who turns away the people. And look, I have examined him in your presence, and have found no guilt in this man regarding the charges which you make against him. And neither did Herodes, for I sent you back to him. And look, he has done none at all deserving death. Having disciplined him, then, I shall release him. For he had to release one to them at the festival. And they cried out all together, saying, Away with this one, and release to us Barabbas, who had been thrown into prison for a certain uprising made in the city, and for murder. Wishing to release Yeshua then, Pilate appealed to them again. But they were calling out, saying, Impale, impale him. And he said to them the third time, Why? What evil has he done? I have found no reason for death in him. Having disciplined him, then, I shall release him. But with loud voices they insisted, asking for him to be impaled. And the voices of these men and of the chief priests were prevailing. And Pilate pronounced sentence that what they asked should be done. And he released the one they asked for, who for uprising and murder had been thrown into prison. But he handed Yeshua over to their wishes. And as they led him away, they laid hold of a certain man, Shimon, a Cyrenian, who was coming from the field, and they put the stake on him to bear it behind Yeshua. And a great number of the people were following him, and women who also were mourning and lamenting him. But Yeshua, turning to them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For look, days are coming in which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and wombs that never bore, and the breasts which never nurse. Then they shall begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. Because if they do this to the green tree, what is going to be done to the dry tree? And 2 others also, evildoers, were led with him to be put to death. And when they had come to the place called Golgotha, they impaled him there, and the evildoers, one on the right, and the other on the left. And Yeshua said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And they divided his garments and cast lots. And the people were standing, looking on, and the rulers also were sneering with them, saying, He saved others, let him save himself if he is the Messiah, the chosen of Elohim. And the soldiers were mocking him too, coming and offering him sour wine, and saying, If you are the sovereign of the Yehudim, save yourself. And there was also an inscription written over him in letters of Greek and Roman and Hebrew, This is the sovereign of the Yehudim. And one of the evildoers who were hanged was speaking evil of him, saying, "If you are the Messiah, save yourself and us." But the other, responding, rebuked him, saying, "Do you not even fear Elohim, since you are under the same judgment? And we, indeed, rightly so, for we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this one has done no wrong." And he said to Yeshua, "Master, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Yeshua said to him, "Truly I say to you, today you shall be with me in paradise." And it was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over the land until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two. And crying out with a loud voice, Yeshua said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last. And the captain, seeing what took place, praised Elohim, saying, "Truly this man was righteous." And when all the crowds who had gathered to that sight saw what took place, they beat their breasts and went away. And all those who knew him and the women who followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching this. And see, a man named Joseph, a council member, a good and righteous man. He was not agreeing with their counsel indeed, from Ramathaim, a city of the Yehudim, who himself was also waiting for the reign of Elohim. He, going to Pilate, asked for the body of Yeshua. And taking it down, he wrapped it in clean linen and laid it in a tomb hewn out of the rock where no one was yet laid. And it was preparation day, and the Sabbath was approaching. And the women who had come with him from Galilee followed after, and saw the tomb and how his body was laid. And having returned, they prepared spices and perfumes, and they rested on the Sabbath according to the command.